Hello, and you're very welcome to the JMAC Podcast. I'm John McMahon. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by orgaretro.com. Use promo code JMAC Podcast to get 15% off on their website. And tonight, I'm joined by Mullahoran senior footballer Enda O'Reilly and Dromara coach Aidan McCarron to talk about last weekend's Cavan Senior Football Championship semi-finals and, of course, the Intermediate Championship semi-final replay between Hugh Collins and Casteran that took place on Friday night. So, gentlemen, how are you? Stuffer, how are you?
Good, yeah, all good. Sure, look, I can't wait now for these two teams to go at it now in the county final. But all good, feeling good.
Good stuff, Mr. McCarron. How are you?
Aye, good, John. What's the crack? It's I'm meeting an old friend here on this for it's been a while, Duffer.
A lifetime ago
is right, man. Must be 7 years ago, is it?
2016.
2016, aye, probably 7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies, hey.
Telling
Time
you.
flies.
Yeah.
Across the divide since that.
Yeah, hasn't been seeing the Mullahoran since.
No, it was like Mo Johnson.
Not allowed back in the parish.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, I'd speed going through it. Anytime I'm going through it, hey, a speed past Lynch's shop there.
Brilliant.
Sure. Good times.
Yeah,
good times, right, lads. And what was Duffer like to coach in?
No, just genuine, hey, genuine.
difficult.
No, just definitely not. Definitely not. Maybe you're difficult, but you definitely didn't stand out as difficult up there.
God! 2 minutes in.
No, in all honesty, no. Just Duffer's great lad. Always had enjoyed working with him and great time for him. It's one of them things. It was probably at that time you were probably maybe 22, 23 Duffer, and there was probably a big age gap to the rest of the team. You know, it was kind of a team in transition. At Mullahoran at the time, but no, it was enjoyable now.
So we got relegated the following year, so
that's right. That's great.
I suppose, probably we had a drop off in players probably from 12, and it just kept going. And emigrating and stuff. But look, that's
right.
So
yeah,
following year was a difficult year, but it was just at that time, that was the way it was panning out. So
because funny, I remember I actually got married the year after that, and I remember you'd be checking the team. You'd be on a Sunday evening there, the scores would be coming in, and you'd maybe see the reports from the Celta or online. Jesus, the team was just ravaged, just a complete different team than what I would have had, and even that team and what I would have had was probably past the sell-by date, and it was tough then for the ones that was coming next, and it was probably just a transition period. These are probably coming out of that transition period now, Duffer, it'd be fair to say,
Probably are, yeah. To be fair, we've a lot of young lads coming through now, 19, 20. Even you look at the 20s, there should be 3 on that squad. No, it's a good age bracket there now. So hopefully we can build on that next year.
Yeah, can we breathe serious life into things? And I see Killian has stepped away from the county.
Yeah, so he'd be with us now from the get go.
Yeah, massive boost.
That'd be massive.
Huge, training at the beginning of the year,
it's
and even levels and standards at the beginning of the year,
100%, and even young boys coming in, soak that up as a sponge, and that becomes the norm,
No, it only be good for us,
Definitely.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, John. We were going down memory lane here.
No, I love that. I tell you what, Oli went down memory lane. I was going to forget to say that. Obviously, Killian Brady, Killian the Gunner Brady, has stepped away from the Cavan panel in recent days / weeks, and he's probably been on the bounce for Cavan since maybe 2012, 2013. Maybe Duffer, you can shine a bit of light on that. But what a servant, Duffer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He was the county nothing now at this stage. I think he was 50-50 on it there for a number of months. I think he's on 99.
Is it just a step away or retirement? Sorry, Duffer.
I think he's done.
Done. Yeah.
Okay. He's getting married now in November, and he's building a house. So
he's definitely done.
But I think he's on the 99 appearances with Cavan.
Right.
Oh no, where is he?
So.
Oh God, is he? Yeah.
Yeah. Some servant now.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's 1 away from the 100, is he? He's nearly there.
Testimonial he'll get.
You gone, Duffer? He's there. Connection must have dropped, maybe. I think we're in and out there, are we? Yeah, just wait till...
He's there now.
No, yeah. sorry, and no, he's one away from 100, is it? Oh, maybe he has to charge the phone up. He must be... We'll get Mr. Dunn back soon, hopefully. He's one away from 100 appearances by the sounds of it, is he?
I think that's what Enda said there. Hey, so it would be nice for him to hit the 100, but I suppose there's something about going out in 99, is there?
Yeah.
You know, it's listen, you know, he's his love for football is always evident. He's a serious warrior. Is Killian, like, so it'll be good for Mullahoran. It'll be a good boost for them, and probably a good time for them as well with the young lads coming through.
Yeah, to get a full year Killian would be great, and obviously we send on our best wish. Oh yeah,
there he is. He's back.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear us? All good. Yeah. Can you hear us, Stenda? No, he's having a bit of a malfunction. No, and I suppose just kind of last point on it. You know, if he is to go with what a servant he has been to Cavan, he's been, in fairness, Mr. Versatile. He's always going to step up to the plate for Cavan, man marking jobs, and him and Jason McLaughlin probably always got the hardest kind of players to mark for Cavan over the years. Widest, so as we were saying, what a servant, yeah.
Yeah, man, sure, he always got the night shift, didn't he? He always got the night shift. Killian, like, he was always given the toughest tasks, and he's the type of man that rolled his sleeves up, and he actually relished them type of marking roles, you know.
Yeah, no, we definitely did. Killian goes into the glorious life of retirement, I suppose. And I suppose in recent weeks, obviously, Aidan Hughes were knocked out in the Longford Senior Football Championship against the mighty Mullahoran. I suppose it's no mean feat to come up short against probably one of the best, probably the best team in Longford. Wiley, what's the emotions after it all?
Yeah, listen, I suppose in fairness, it was always going to be a big challenge. Tomorrow, I think, have went from 2 or 3 relegation playoffs in the last maybe 4 years. So to get that semi-final this year and beat Kilo along the way, and then, you know, come up against the Mullahoran team who are on a different trajectory at the minute. You know, the life of that group compared to, you know, the footballing age of the Dramar group will be completely different. So, but listen, it was a game where we probably feel we didn't perform in, you know, but there was still only the kick of a ball in it for a long time, and probably with 12 minutes to go, I think it is, where we were awarded a penalty, and there was only 2 points in the game. We were awarded a penalty, and then the referee changed his mind and gave a 13-metre free. So, but yeah, no, it was, listen, on the night we were beat by a better team, but you know, there's a lot of positives to be able to take from this season. There's been development in a lot of the young lads, and Matt Duffy was obviously a serious miss in the semi-final. He broke a bone in his ankle in the quarter-final. So, but listen, you have to roll with the punches and that. So we'll take a bit of time to regroup, and we'll see where we go from here.
Absolutely. And can you hear us all right?
Yeah, all good.
Oh, super stuff. No, just reflecting on Mullahoran's year, obviously coming up short against Rammer in the quarter-final replay a few weeks ago. What way would you reflect on Mullahoran's year?
Yeah, I suppose when you probably look at it from the beginnings with the league and that, we got promotion from Division 2, so obviously that would have been a goal for us, you know, at the beginning of the year. Obviously losing last year, the league final to Lara was a bit of a setback, so with only one team getting promoted, so our aim obviously this year would have been to win that, and obviously we got over the line again, Arvin, penalty shootout, so we got promotion there, and then obviously in the championship we probably felt the first day maybe we left an opportunity behind against Rammer in the quarter-final, but I suppose it wasn't to be in the replay. But yeah, look, it was probably a positive year, but you know, realistically, playing Division 2 football when you get to the latter stages of a senior championship against the quality sides like Cavan, Slaw, Rammers, and even the Gales of this world, you know, you're probably going to get exposed, I suppose, in certain areas. So look, you know, next year again we'll have to look to have a big Division 1 league, you know, to remain in Division 1, cement our place as a Division 1 team, and look to get the championship from there. But that's the plan, anyway. That's where we feel we need to be as a club, you know, to win championships again or even compete for them. You know, we need to be competing in Division 1 leagues first and foremost, you know.
I think that's a great point, John, that Duffer makes there. You know, sometimes when you're playing at a certain level, you actually think you're maybe a wee bit better in positions than you are. And it's only then when you really come up against the top teams that maybe expose you for certain mistakes or expose you in certain areas that you realise that maybe there's a bit more to do here, you know. You can get into a false sense of security probably playing at lower levels in league football, Duffer, and then when you get to the melting pot of things, it be an eye opener times that you think maybe geez, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I suppose in certain games, you know, just Division 2, like I suppose there was a point there, Division 2, where anyone could have went up. You know, we were all on. I think at one stage we were all on 15 points, and three or four teams got to go. But just I suppose tactically, you know, defensive teams, even time on the ball. You know, different little facets of play that you might get away with it in Division 2, and then you're expected to make the jump. And look, it's all about getting to a quarter final in senior, the way the championship format is. You don't care how you get there, but it's from there on in where we've found the gap. You know, even the year before we got a bit of a beating off our local rivals in GAA. But look, as I said, it is a huge step up, and it's one we need to try and make that jump next year. You know, collectively.
It's probably just not harping on. This is probably the better teams you come up against. You know, the lower divisions, maybe the game management for teams doesn't be as well collectively, and then you come up against the top teams. And you know, I'm thinking even Mullahoran there, when we played them in the semi-final, like what struck me about them, and I've seen them a good few times. They're just game management, and they're just the play to a system, and they're a machine. They never panic. They've been through the mill so many times, and they're just so much faith and belief in what to do, and that's what when you come up against the top teams, you have to beat that as well.
That's it, big game experience, you know.
100%.
Yeah, and I suppose just before you could cut off there, Duff, we were just talking about Killian's kind of influence for Cavan, and obviously, as you rightly saying there, Killian's influence now for Mullahoran next year because he will have the full deck of cards with him. So I suppose what a servant he was to Cavan.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. He owes the county team nothing. I think he was 50-50 on it there for a long period. I think he's left on 99 appearances. So
you're saying that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he was looking to try and bridge that. But look, brilliant. He's been in there from 2012 or 2013, I think. So he's got to 10 years in there, soldiering away with Cavan and that. And look, he got his just rewards in 2020 with the Ulster men. So. He'd be happy enough now. So he'll throw his lot in with us now for a few years. He's only 30 there, 31.
Yeah.
So we'll get 4 or 5, maybe more good years out of him, and so.
And hey, sure, if he waits another 8 years, he'll get the 100th appearance when he plays for Cavan Masters.
And by the way, what a team the Cavan Masters have! Congratulations to the lads a few weeks ago. Some win, some tasty ballers. Keith Fannon's still going strong as well. God. Great win for them, in fairness, but good stuff. And Mullahoran's year overall, Duffer, happy enough?
Yeah, look, as I said, you know, the league was a huge aim to begin with, and we've achieved promotion on that. So I suppose it's about building on that, you know, and going again next year and trying to make the breakthrough past the quarter final. We found it a huge hiccup of ours the last few years. So I suppose. You know, trying to bridge that gap and get into the top bracket at the latter part of the senior championship is a huge goal for ours. But it starts, as I said already, with league football, you know, and trying to get a few more young lads through next year again, you know.
Well, Division 1 will definitely help that. Don't make no doubt about it. I suppose we'll touch on to the action last weekend, lads. On Friday, 30 September 2022, Cucullins 1-9, Castlerahan 2-9 in the McAvoy Super Value Virginia Intermediate Championship 2022 semi-final replay. Cucullins had this game in their absolute palm of their hands, Mr. Wiley, and just came up short.
Yeah, I tipped them as the dark horses the last time I was on the show, and I actually checked the score. It was funny because I'd actually forgot the game was on the Friday night, and I actually checked the score, and they were leading by 3 points with I think 3 or 4 minutes to go, and I checked in about 20 minutes later, and I seen they could ship 2 late goals, so. I would say they're devastated now, but again, probably no more so than what we were talking about there. But good teams in game management, like Castlerahan's been on the road and they've been round, you know, winning senior championships and senior leagues, so they know how to dig results out, and they proved that again on Friday night, and probably, you know, delighted, and you know, for Brian Donoghue with them, and hopefully, you know, he can get them over the line in the final.
Yeah, they're looking good for that. Ballyhaise, Castlerahan final will be a remarkable game of football, I really feel.
You tipped Ballyhaise, John, didn't you?
Ballyhaise, to win it out.
Do you still think so?
Based on Castlerahan's championship so far, yeah, Bally's I think would win it, barring some calamity. I think. Yeah, just don't think Castlerahan have been hitting the same heights as years gone by. Yeah,
I think it's the final that everyone probably would have wanted if you were.
Yeah.
You see, you would have said that at the start of the year. Yeah.
So it should be a good game now, but it's hard not to look past Castlerahan, just experience. A lot of lads there. It is. But at senior level.
See the thing on that, you just wonder. You know the way a lot of them players have a couple of senior championships and senior leagues, how their mindset then drops to an intermediate. You know what I mean? Has it been the same? Have they given it the same attention or the same seriousness? You know, because quite often it can be hard if you drop down. You know, it's maybe doesn't mean as much as the senior one did for them, like because they had a glory period there for 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden they found themselves in intermediate.
Yeah, I suppose with us there, like when we went down, I think at the beginning of the year, it's definitely difficult to get back in the horse, but it is in the back of your mind. It is that wee bit of motivation, and a lot of those boys in that Castlerahan dressing would feel that they still belong in senior level, and it probably would have went hard on a few boys. But I think as the year goes on, you get a few more wins under your belt. Like they did stay in Division 1. You know, they did stay in that division and are playing at that level, as we already said. But I think as the year goes on, you pick up a few wins here and there. You kind of you get a bit of momentum on that, and you see a light, I suppose. But like Enda Flanagan, Fergal Riley, David Ritt, these lads to be driving that thing on. Senior, you know. But at the beginning of the year, it's definitely it's a hard place to be. But from within, you have to get it going again. There's no other option.
Yeah, and we know ourselves too. Duffer, both of us worked with him. Like Brian's football mad there.
Oh yeah,
like football mad, and he. And like the preparation, he would have no stone left unturned. Like left unturned. Like, and it's probably been a good fit for them the year.
It's the ideal candidate.
Yeah. But, interesting now to see how that one pans out. You know?
Well.
Like even on that, like even with Bally's, like Kevin Tierney can't even get a game, or he comes on in dribs and drabs. He might not be fit, but I think when you can have him in your army, like Conor Lyons, Sean McCormick on the bench, and David Brady's playing the football of his life at the minute. So fingers crossed it'll be a great final. But I suppose going back to the game on Friday, Duffer, what was the verdict on?
I seen clips of it. I didn't see the full game. To be honest, I seen the first day. It was on after our game, and when I look back on it, give Hullins had serious chances to win it. But I suppose they'll be kicking themselves that they didn't get it off the line. Like the Hullins are fairly experienced at that level. Like we got over them in 2018. And they have a lot of good players. I suppose Eugene, obviously, he's not around the last number of years, but he's a massive loss for them. But they'll be kicking themselves. They've good men around that club: Rowan Carlin, Niall Lynch, and even obviously Mickey Ling is there involved. So they'll obviously be kicking themselves now that they didn't get over the line the first day. I think is where they'll feel they slipped up in that game big time.
Yeah, no, the final will be very interesting, and you sit the nail on the head with Brian Donahue there. He is football mad. I suppose moving on to Saturday's game, it was Gowna 2-12, Crushlaw 2-11 in the Kernan Service Station.
Can you see the smile on my face already?
Kernan Service Station Senior Championship 2022 semi-final, and what a game of football, lads. It was up on nights. It was on RTE live for everyone to watch it. I got a lot of slagging during the week. Why is Cavan football on TV? That's why it's on TV, Mr. Wiley.
Jesus, it was some game, hey. It was some game, and
the weather as well,
man, and you know what? The TV probably didn't do how bad the conditions were justice, the way, because of the obviously the professional TV cameras. I think when you see some of the scores from the Cavan TV, and then you see the pictures from RTE, it looks like two different, climates all together. Like the wind,
Conor Madden's goal and all.
Like the wind and the rain was just. But I tell you what, hey, for the quality of football the two teams served up, it's an absolute credit to the two clubs, and the standard of technical ability in both clubs, because the skill levels for that night was unbelievable,
Yeah, a remarkable game of football, and I suppose while you want to pressure most about it is just goals galore. Gowna had a really good first half, but you always really did feel with the quality Crushlaw do have, they were going to get back into the game. But what was the overriding emotions?
I know, probably like yeah, funny game. Like Guyna had nearly squandered leads in numerous occasions. Like, and just what we were talking about there earlier. Like the format of these championships, like they're almost two different championships. The knockout groups, the knockout stages compared to the group stages, like Guyna is a completely different team now. And probably, got into 8th place by the skin of their teeth because actually Mullahoran won on that last day. Like, and they were dead and gone. And probably when they lost their last group game, they were probably walking off the pitch thinking that they were out. And then, all of a sudden they're drawn against Cavan Gales, and it's just ignited them. And yeah, like they're really going to fancy themselves now going into the final.
Absolutely well. I suppose some star-studded performances, and Conor Casey had the game of his life, to flick up. In the absolute pistons of rain in Brentford Park.
Like that skill level, like and even his goal, like his control and his pace going through the goal, and I'd alluded to you boys off air earlier, like when 3-4 years ago when I was there, like Kieran Senior, chairman, he had the foresight that them young lads, the likes of Cormac Brady, Ryan Brady, Tiernan Madden, Casey, Sean Horton, there's probably maybe 10, 12 more of them. Like them boys were religiously working with myself and that in the gym before senior training, just to try and get them as prepared as possible for when them lads had 17, 18, that they could not just come into the senior panel, but that they could come into the senior panel, hold their own, and even make an impact. And they're getting their just rewards for the work that the club has set for them. Like the club had always this philosophy just to give them young lads the best possible chance, and that's all they would have talked about. Like they wouldn't have talked about going on and winning things or anything. It was just about give these young lads the best possible chance. And they're in back-to-back finals now, and it's a reward for the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I suppose invest in your youth, Wiley, and the rewards will come from it. And I suppose, alluding to the likes of Conor Casey, to have the the skill within his locker, to do what he done, and he kicks some absolutely outrageous scores. And so Conor Madden stepping up to the plate now and again as well. Wiley, like it really was a good performance for them two gents.
It was. It was not. Geez, it was serious performances, and even I thought Ryan Donoghue too. In midfield, like Ryan's just a great lad, and his dad, Guyna mad, football mad, like, and Ryan's lived his whole life in Ballinamore and grew up in Ballinamore, like, but just complete Guyna mad, like, and funny, he would have been just finishing at 18. He would have been when I was there, like, so I used to have to actually drive via Ballinamore to go to Guyna to lift him and take him,
While you're telling me that,
yeah, you'd pull onto the street, hey, and you'd think you were on time. And then Gary would come out and start talking to you, and then the next thing you'd be late for training, like, because he just just that football mad, just pure passion, like, and no, just a lot of good men around the club there doing great work, and as I say, they're getting serious rewards now, and you nearly forget now, like the likes of Conor Madden and Conor Brady and Oisin Pearson and Cian Madden, they're these young lads are nearly like taking the shine off them or the spotlight off them, because these young lads are coming through and they're not being fazed by anything. Like they're not just taking part at senior level, like they're coming in to dominate. And Conor Casey really dominated that game the other night. Like.
No, it was a great game of football by all accounts. And Duffman, what was your verdict on the game that took place on Saturday night?
Yeah, so the overriding feeling is that these are going to be around for a long time. But look, I suppose RT have covered the last couple of games there now. We've done well, I suppose, with how it's appeared to nationally, and that they covered the 2020 final as well, and it was a brilliant game of ball as well. But look, I suppose two really good teams, loads of really good footballers in both sets of teams, and I suppose it's difficult to admit it, but Gowna are going really, really well now, and you have to say they'll be favourites now to go on and win it now on the back of those two big wins there, against Cavan Gales and Crushlaw.
And in fairness to Gowna, like, they had their lean period for a long time. They really, really struggled for long periods. But I remember chatting to Mark McKeever and that, when I was there and during them lean periods before that, they would have talked about every year it was just their whole aim was to keep going a senior. And it was struggle times, you know, but they managed it because they always had this belief that if they'd done that, they could create something special. Like,
when you look at it, like it's 2002 since the last one. That's 20 years ago.
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years, a long time, you know. And I suppose in that time, like you're saying, they never went down. You know,
never.
They always they fought a couple of relegation games. I think they played Arva in Lacken, probably 2015 maybe, or 2016. One of those years, and then they played Lacken as well in relegation game. I think Conor Madden got a last minute free.
That's right.
To keep them in the championship. So they've fought off relegation a couple of times. In fairness to them, you have to hand it to them. They kept the thing afloat, and obviously Kieran has come in there as chairman and has that foresight there to bring in these young players and plan for the future. But I think they've also benefited from the Southern Gaels amalgamation too.
Yeah.
You know, they won under 20 last year, even after the lost county final. They went on won under 20 Division 1 against Collins up in Virginia. So, you know, they're getting a lot of success on the rate off the back of that. So
you know, and even there, like it was 3 years ago when I was there, like, and that was the start of you know, Conor Brady and Oisin Pearson and Cian Madden would have just been coming out of minor, and you know, there was nearly the taste in the air that there was going to be something happening, you know, and you probably thought it was going to be maybe 5 years down the line, but geez, you'd be taking training sessions there, like, and there might be 50 or 60 from the parish, like, just on a Friday night, like, standing watching it. Like, it was just the club was just mad looking for success, and you know, they invested big time into their gym and into their facilities, like, and it was you know, even there, the women, like the players' mothers, would be up in the kitchen from training to be at 8 o'clock. You'd land at 7:20. The ladies making the tea and cooking the food would be there before you, cooking all the, you know, getting the food ready. And I remember when, like, we had our first child, Oisin, when I was there, like, and the women would be saying to you, you know, if Annette needs a break any night when you're going to training, take him down, and we look after him during the training sessions and all. You know, they're just
like
mental.
Una McGahern,
Una, yeah, man.
Yeah, Ajvich, all these women, you know.
Breda Brady, just unbelievable.
They're just all about Gowna, you know, wanting to push it in the right direction, you know.
Yeah, no, unbelievable. Like, and you know, funny, Una would be up making the tea, Sean would be down cutting the grass in the pitch, and Ryan would be leading the training session for you. Just a family, just absolutely just going mad, like.
Yeah, fairness to them now, but there's nothing else in Gowna other than football, you know. So
farming and football.
That's all there is over there, you know. But yeah, look.
Dumper just hold back, and my blood temperature's absolutely rising. What a game, boys! What a game! And in fairness, like, the conditions were coming down. You felt maybe sorry for a couple of players. Conor Janine looked like he was in his, I don't know, he looked like he could be a million places otherwise. Like it was coming down in rain. The players kept playing. The quality of football was brilliant. Long balls in, none of this defensive nonsense. We were treated to a real spectacle, Wiley.
Yeah, no, geez, it was, you know, a football for the purists. Like, I've seen there that the Donegal final is on I think
Can't
TG4.
Wait for that game. Cannot wait for that game.
TG4 this weekend. Like, I can't see it being as open as what the Cavan game was the other night.
Did you see the Down game at the weekend? I think it was like 3-1 at half time.
Yeah, Warren Point or Mayo Bridge and Kilcoo.
Stevie Poacher's
Stevie's over Mayo Bridge. So 3-1. But no, that was the great thing. Like, but listen, I suppose the thing with Gowna and Cruiserlock, the serious talent, and both teams believe that, you know, the best way to utilise this talent is to attack a wee bit. Now, don't get me wrong, both teams were still getting men back behind the ball if the opposition was slow and going forward with it. But the quality of the moving and the hand passing and the kick passing, and you know, even there, like, in fairness, Ronan Bannon, like, he's 43 years of age, and he's this past couple of seasons, like, and he's always been renowned for, you know, kicking long. And, you know, I thought the other night, like, his short kickouts were excellent, like, you know.
And his shot stopping too,
yeah. See that, Aidan, I was just asking you, like, what would you do now if you're Killigarry? Like, and I suppose it's something that we would probably didn't get right either, and even just looking at the Cruiserlough team, their kickouts, if you see they bunch, their six backs bunch in the middle.
I think you have to mark outside, Duffer.
Yeah, I see. Crystal went man to man.
Crystal went man for man. Like, and I actually think, and especially the way the conditions were, that the prop now. Listen, it's hindsight's great sitting here and saying that, but I think on a wet night like that, where by marking the space, the kick becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah, it goes on.
Yeah, it goes on it, and then maybe you're forcing probably Ronan then to maybe chance short ones down the heart of your defence in round the D, and on a wet night like that, it only takes one spill, and the ball's in the back of the net. But I think probably, I think Crystal maybe played into their hand by going short now, because it allowed Ronan to hit the short kick out to the outside of the runner all the time. Whereas if Crystal were holding their positions and marking the space, he wouldn't have been able to do that.
And if you watch then too, like you look at those kickers, they're going to the likes of Conor Brady, Ryan Brady, even Tiernan Madden, Cian Madden, and then when they get it, they're away. Do you know?
Yeah. The transition up the pitch. Yeah, the transition up the pitch was lightning, like. So.
The way Killian set up, whether they decide to go man for man or whether they go zone on the kickouts, because if you take that away from Cavan and make them go long, you're taking a large part of their play away. So it's interesting to see what they do now.
100%, because quite often too, when you do make a team go long, when teams do bunch and then you do make them go long, a lot of the times you find that the opposition pick up the breaks, because the wing half backs are bunched in, and if the kickout's not down the middle centrally, if it's to the wings, you find that the team that's kicking the ball out are nearly outnumbered out there because the players have bunched. Yeah. You can't break out in time, so it's a catch-22 situation. But I would say that, like Killian have a fantastic man over them, so I'd say he's his homework done, and he'll be looking to maybe try and stop that at source. Like that, I would anyway if I was going in as the opposition to that.
Yeah. But that back to your point on Rowan Bannon, I think that we system they have going and kickouts has suited him, because he's able to just think it out.
Yeah,
left and right. They have it off to a T. In fairness to them, so it's actually made made him look really, really impressive this last couple of years.
Excellent. And like Ronan, be the first to tell you, that's something that hasn't been in Ronan's game. Like Ronan wouldn't have been that comfortable in short, and would always been long for safety, and for probably a few years, Cavan maybe didn't have the physicality or the ability to win out round the middle as many breaks as what to do now, and being able to transition as fast. Like so, no, it's just as a credit to them.
He's seen it all now, Cavan. I suppose he was booming it out in his early career.
That's it.
Derek McCabe and Larry Brady, these guys. So.
Yeah.
He's seeing both sides, but now he would have played with a lot of them by his father. So.
Oh man, 100%. And you talk about a man, hey, that's Mr. Cavan. Oh, like he works for Killian Brady, the chairman, and he's like
the treasurer for the club too.
He's a treasurer for the club. He's down cutting the grass. He's weeding. And the next thing. They'd be doing a clean up around the pitch, and you'd be setting up the training session, and the next thing he'd just be coming running out like ready for the session. Like he just lived about the club, like.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we're after naming some of the Cavan lads, and I think he just goes around about his work so quietly. Conor Brady, lads, what a game he had from centre half back, and gave a great ball out along the sideline. I think it was to Mr. Casing, the commentators, Aidan O'Rourke, but we didn't give him the credit deserved. It was an outrageous pass. Conor Brady for county and club lads has been very impressive.
I actually was chatting to a few of them after it, and I'd actually said to Ryan McGahern to make sure and tell him that I said that was a shot. with Conor's feet, but no, hey, he's been excellent. He's really, really coming into his own as a footballer now, hey, and just a lethal weapon. Like he probably bounced onto the scene, and there was great talk and great hope about him, and then he had a few injuries, and he actually, I don't think was he in the panel when Cavan won the Ulster Championship, or he might have been in the talking out panel. But
he was there in 2020.
He was injured, wasn't he? But I don't think he was. Yeah. So he's probably used that as a serious motivation to himself. Hey, and again, a great lad. Hey.
Yeah. What about yourself, though, for Conor Brady's impact, I suppose, on Cavan? But it really does shine through for Cavan.
Yeah, like even when you look back at the quarter final, the first day against the Gaels, like he had a huge part in dragging Cavan back into that game.
Yeah.
I suppose ever since that, he's been a huge driving force for Ghana in the remaining fixtures after that, But he just picks up ball and drives forward. chips in with scores, you know, and he's able to take a couple of big hits. I think just before that pass you were talking about for the ball out to the right flank to Casey, I think he took a big hit off, I think it was Darren Gaffney.
He's so strong and so fast. Like his you know, his ability to break the line and break the tackle is fantastic.
We played them in 2017 in the league the year we got relegated, and they came up and beat us in Mullahoran, and he was centre back on me, and he was only about 18, 19 at the time, and he was a unit at that age, you know, just actually a big lad, and look, he's a huge future ahead of him as well. He's still fairly young, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing with him, and funny, you know, I think, you know, out of the ball, like I think Cian Madden has really developed into a real fantastic footballer. Like, you know, when he would have first burst onto the scene, his whole game was about getting scores, and he was nearly a luxury player. He's really developed into one of them hard working, you know, typical, like almost like a Brian Dooher, like forward, like links defense to attack, and pops up with big scores. Like even through one time the other night and fisted a great score at a vital time, like, and you know, serious engine, good football brain, and you know, mad to learn about football, and you know, Jesus, Dermot and the boys are getting the best out of them, like.
Yeah, I suppose even on that, Mark McKeever, lads, we were touching on him a few minutes ago, and probably involved in that 0-2 team that would have won. You know, I don't know how he's still going. It's nearly exhausting looking at him.
Serious.
Senior football.
I'm sure you've come across him a few times when he was marking you, Duffer. I actually run into McKeever. It's 21 years ago in an under-21 game in Ballyheas. He tried to headbutt me, but we made up since then. And it was snowing.
He's a lovely lad off the pitch.
He's a great lad. Great lad, and just, you know, again, just fantastic lad. The
way he keeps himself is
unreal.
He's, you know, he's so lean and you know, he's just Mr. Versatile. He can play him anywhere, like, you know. And obviously he's a huge leader in that team. You can imagine he'll be keeping them fairly grounded. I think I was just watching him after the game. The final whistle went against Cristalaw. Obviously, a lot of the boys would have been delighted getting the result. We know love lost between Gowan and Cristalaw, but there wasn't really much. It wasn't a bad out of him. He knew that there was still another job to do. You know.
Oh, big time, yeah.
And he knows there's nothing more yet. Like, you know.
No, that's it. And you know, probably when we're talking about kind of like more so than that last group qualifying game, like. They're probably coming off the pitch thinking that, you know, they've been beat. Maybe this could be the end for maybe him in a quest for another championship. Ronan Bannon, Razor, probably Jared Pearson. You know, and probably the management are even thinking that maybe their time's up there, and then they get a stroke of luck and they've went to the next level now, like a couple of games, and you know, football's just mad how it can change, like.
Those two players, suppose, will have a huge, you know, impact and bearing on the run in now the next couple of weeks. You know.
And listen, Mark's someone that, you know, you wouldn't be surprised in the not too distant future that he's wearing the Bannister top about Gouna as well, like, because his knowledge of football and you know what he can bring to the game is unbelievable. Like he's almost a manager on the pitch for you.
Oh yeah, true, yeah.
Yeah, he'll have a huge part to play now. Obviously, the way he's been playing, I suppose we talked about it before, you know, there that he's a sweeper role now. Kind of, he's dropping off in front of the two boys in the county final, and he'll do that role. So
that's the big thing. Like Lovett and Smith, they'll have to. You know, I think they hit 1-7 between them. For Killian, so they'll have to. But we after our first meeting didn't get off to the best of start 20 odd years ago. We made up after that. He wasn't the first man that went through his career trying to get a chap at me. So it all settled.
Still boys trying to get a cut at you. Hey?
Still boys. There's a couple of mine, Duffer, when I was with Mullahoran. We played Gouna, and there was a couple of them had a chat at me too. So I don't know.
You decided to take up a wing forward role first.
I did. I was running across the pitch, and there was a few of them made a go at me, and I remember too. I think it might have been Niall Madden. And I remember then, I was still running off, and the next thing McKeever had run 100 metres to have a go at me too. So
That's the last time we beat Gouna.
That's right. That's right.
We played them 17, they beat us, and it's been that way since. And then 19, we got promoted, they beat us in the league. And we haven't played them much, but they've beaten us since now. They've always beaten us. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. I'm interested with, like, did you get the abuse from McKeever? You had to have said something, done something, surely.
No, it was. I can't remember. We were well on top at the time, and I think Ray McGahern might have just got the line for the clip you.
Kicking me.
Yeah, tipped you, yeah, and I kind of come running across the pitch, kind of just maybe
say hello to him, pat him on the back.
Maybe speaking when I should have run on, like, and I think Niall Madden had a run into Niall Madden that didn't even see him coming, so we ran in, and there was a bit of an altercation, and I was running on and off, and the next thing, and McKeever, he was like Usain Bolt, just up the pitch to get kind of a rattle at me, but I survived it anyway, and the rest is history.
Brilliant stuff. I suppose, what was the turning point in this game, lads? Just feeling, Crushlaw, like, I suppose the outgoing opinion is, the likes of Paddy Lynch maybe just had a bit of an off day with some of the frees. Maybe Darren McVeety had a good game to his credit. Maybe James Smith wasn't fit. Pierce Smith, Stephen Smith, so much talent there, lads. But in fairness, it was only a 1 point loss, but you feel it could have got more from the lads? Duffer.
Yeah, I suppose, they'll probably be disappointed themselves, that they probably didn't get as much as they would have probably liked out of, the men mentioned boys there, James Smith and these lads, Pierce Smith. Obviously McVitie, Dara had quite a good game, but I suppose they could have probably, I think they only went, that I could see, one kind of long ball. I think Dara put in the long ball on top of James Smith. I think they win the penalty off the back of that. Was it? One ball in. I think they could have maybe done that. They could have done that maybe a bit more, but definitely I suppose Paddy Lynch and these guys probably will be disappointed, and I suppose Crushlaw will feel that if they had a few more performances from those boys, that it might be a different result, or that they could be still in the championship, but not to be on the night,
Yeah, I totally agree with what Duffer's saying there, and I think probably what we alluded to before we come to this point about Gowna's kickouts and how Crushlaw, marked on it, I think had a big say in the game. But in all honesty, like, if Gowna hadn't won the game, they'd have kicked themselves. I mean, Conor Madden went through with a great goal chance, and at a vital time, and doesn't hit the target with it, and maybe had an open net if he plays the ball across. I think maybe Aaron Brady is standing for an open palm into the net. But no, I think too, hey, the game's level, and Oisin Pearson has a difficult free just inside the 45 out to the left, and he actually plays a quick free, and I think it's Cian Madden that's coming running, and he's never picking it up because the ball just gets to the surface, and Crushlaw are penalised for a pullback on Cian Madden, and it makes an impossible free that Gowna have potentially kicked away become a score. And they'll probably be sick at wee things like that, just game management.
I think even if it managed to turn that one over, there probably could have been time left for a counter attack.
100%.
But they definitely would have been kicking them. So I think it was Adrian Tomo that was acting back. So yeah, it's the way it works out for you,
Yeah, it's funny, hey.
I suppose was it Gowna's raw intensity, lads, for this game. Maybe Crushlaw maybe were second to a lot of things, or was just Gowna maybe wanted it that bit more? Where did you maybe feel it went wrong for Crushlaw, Wiley?
I again not harping on about it. Two things there we've mentioned. Maybe the way that they set up on the Gowna kickouts, but also that maybe they weren't a wee bit more direct, especially with the conditions. That they got a penalty from the one direct ball that they did kick in. Maybe there was opportunity to let a bit more in that they didn't do. But again, listen, it's easy sitting here and picking on them things up. But they'll probably when they're analysing the game, they'll probably look at them two big parts of the game that they could have been better on.
What about yourself, Duffer?
Yeah, no, as I said earlier, I think that James Smith, that one opportunity that he had, they got joy on it. So I feel like they probably could have done that more. But maybe there's a couple of chances Paddy missed as well that he probably would usually convert on other days, But overall, you'd have to say again we're probably the best team. They wanted it that bit more probably on the night, and got performances from the bigger players, as regards to Law, they probably just didn't get them, and probably had that little bit more in reserve. You look at the likes of Darren Madden, Oisin Pearson coming on. They're two strong players to be bringing in a semi-final. When it is tight, so you have to give credit to Oisin there. Like, he did stick that free, at the end.
Very free,
Fair to him.
He Oisin reckons my young lad's named after him.
Of course he does.
If he had missed that free, I'd have said he's definitely not named after you, Cub.
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah, and 100%, lads. Suppose, and it was a lot of talking points from the game was the likes of Conor Casey, could potentially make the step up to the kind of Cavan team. Maybe a couple of people were saying condition wise, but he wouldn't be a bad lad to have about the place, Mr. Duffer.
Definitely, he's a fairly good champion now, even from quarterfinals on. He's been very, very good, but I'd say I'd be looking to get him in there, and get him conditioned and look to build, with him in the squad over the next number of years. That goal was brilliant, but there's so many going forwards there that can score, but he's been massive for them in the last game. Just raw pace, athletic.
It's funny that the decision now for the likes of Conor, like if he goes into the senior panel, and probably Andre works with him hands on and that, and he will develop physically, but will he get the game time maybe that might also bring him on?
Next year, is he?
I think he is, yeah.
You see that, but even just to be part of the 26,
Yeah, so but even maybe if he's part of the 26 and maybe not getting league games for Gowna that he would be getting, that might help. I'm a firm believer.
Well, that's true too, yeah.
I'm a firm believer at that age of 18, 19 that lads play as much football as possible. Sometimes you often see it that there's fantastic players at underage level, and they get into a senior panel and then they stagnate a wee bit because they're maybe not getting the same game development as what they would get if they were still with their club. So I think sometimes you have to be careful. Just maybe, is it better for Cavan to leave Conor Casey to play with Gowna for another year and play with under-20s and then take him into senior panel instead of rushing him in and maybe not getting no football anywhere?
Yeah. Well, I suppose he'd be in at the 20s next year.
Yeah. So I'd say probably the best thing is to leave him at the 20s and take it after that.
Yeah.
But definitely a huge player going forward for both.
He's the world at his feet, like, in football terms.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race for Casey. I think we'll breed him in, and I suppose overall, lads, was it a good advertisement for Cavan football? Obviously, being on RT and having all the media coverage it did have. Wiley.
Yeah, you couldn't have got a better game. Jeez, you couldn't have got a better game for Cavan football. Like, honestly, and the conditions and that, and sure, even like Tyrone, chatting to lads in Tyrone all week, and they were on about, the quality of the game and the standard of it, and some of the score taken. Even like Conor Casey's goal, like, the way he went, just the pace of him going down the middle.
Stephen Smith's goal was brilliant too.
Yeah. I mean, some of the scores and some of the play was fantastic. Like, and it said, actually the RTE cameras didn't do the conditions justice. How difficult they were, like.
Mm-hmm. Duffer, what beers have taken up in Aidan's point?
Yeah, no, I was thinking there, if we got to a semi-final, would they've showed us and Rammer or us and Killian as fit.
They might think it was a game from Donegal, Duffer, would they?
Oh, that is filth. That is absolute filth. Mr. McCluskey's not here to defend himself. Don't worry.
No, if you were to pick two teams, obviously for RT to obviously have the game and Revenue Club Champs semi-final, and those two teams would obviously be, the first two you probably would look to, to try and promote the game and
then Mullahoran.
Yeah.
I think in all honesty, with the Cruiser Lock and Gowna, I think it's a rivalry. It's going to play out for the next decade.
Oh, I think so.
And it's
they're still two very young teams.
Yeah, it's probably only in maybe 15 years that you're going to look back and be like, it'll nearly be like the Gales Mullahoran rivalry, or the Mullahoran Guyana rivalry back in the days. That's it's got that flavour to it. Like it's gonna be a long rivalry. It's not gonna be a 2 or 3 year thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can nudge in there.
Come in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Be nice.
Well, that's where you want to be, definitely, as a footballer. Like, and even when you're working with teams, is competing for them games. And you no more so as a coach or a footballer, when you're watching games on the telly like that and the big prizes are at stake, you'll be watching on with envy. If you're knocked out, you're not involved.
Steps up a lot of lads' performances as well. The fact it was on RTE, like a lot of young lads would have been absolutely bouncing with that all week, and it maybe even improved some of the lads' performances.
Yeah, well, young lads can go one or two ways in that. The pressure can get to them, and maybe they can go into their shell a wee bit. But good footballers with fantastic mindsets will go the other way, and they'll perform. And that's what you want to do: perform on the biggest stage. And, a lot of lads took that opportunity and did that on Saturday night.
Superb game of football. Weather conditions taken into account. Duffy, you were man of the match
on the night.
Yeah,
it's hard not to. Well, I suppose between Conor Brady and Casey for me, obviously Casey was getting the scores, but I'd probably nudge it and give it to Conor Brady. A lot goes through him. Out around that middle third of the field, he drives forward and he's a leader in the team at such a young age still. But I'd probably give it to Conor. He's been huge for them. I know they would have played a couple of high-profile games before the first 4 games in the championship, and they probably would have spent a lot of time getting themselves up for those games, to give themselves to make a good account of themselves against a high profile team, and probably went into the first 4 championship games probably a bit flat, and then only for us to be so generous to allow them into a quarter final. They were probably just a little bit flat in the back of that, I suppose just a light switch moment in the quarter final against Gales, when they looked dead and buried. The next thing they're back in it, and ever since that they've just kicked on. But I think Conor Brady from that point on has been huge for them, and in fairness to him, he's drove them on at every opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what about yourself, Wiley?
Definitely for me was Conor Brady. Like me and Duffers, both forwards, we should probably be giving it to the forward union, but no, Conor Brady, he's such an influence in the team, and he can defend, he can break the line. He's a massive player for them. Like, and I thought on a night with difficult conditions that he was outstanding for them in big moments when they needed him. And like, having been in that changing room, like there's so many leaders in that changing room, like, and they'll be hurting from last year's final and not getting over the line. And we alluded to it earlier, like the minute the final whistle went, like Mark McKeever was settling things down again. You've so much football experience there, and and even like Ryan McGahern's the club captain, like, and I think Ryan probably 27 now, like, and geez, I've been in a lot of changing rooms with a lot of big players and a lot of captains and that, but to me, like, he's one of the best leaders of players and men that you could come across. And definitely, like, he's a lad that if you were going to war, you would want him in your corner, when he maybe in a team that's built with stars and that, like, he often gets the tough jobs and the marking jobs and that, but he drives things on behind the scenes. He's driving things on at training, and he's such a vital part to them. And even last year he missed a large part of the year with injury and that, and there's probably been a big emphasis put on not missing out this year again.
Yeah, Ryan had a great game on Saturday night, and Aidan Wiley McCarron is the new GAA manager for 2023.
No. They always say never go back.
Oh God, the way things are moving at the minute, God knows it's all in our remit. We will move on to Sunday's action in the Cairn Service Station. It is going to be loading up now. We will go back to it. Yeah, Cairn Service Station Senior Championship 2022 semi-final. It was Killigarry 2-7, Rammer 1-9. Killigarry's first Senior Championship appearance final since 1971. Mr. Duffer, what an achievement!
Yeah, great for them. Obviously, what a turnaround in the space of 12 months. They were playing Castleran in Crubany to stay in the senior championship. This time last year. So they obviously had some harsh words. With a bit of dose of reality as regards after that fixture, and they went back to it. Over the winter months, and they've a lot of talent there, and they've probably been doing a lot of things right, from underage up. They've been in, I think we played them in a minor final back in 2017, Drumlin Gales, Mullahoran, Ballycue, we beat them. But you could see even then, the young lovers, Kean Riley, these lads are coming through. They're doing a lot right in the club, and you can see that pool of talent that they have now has really kicked on, come of age in this year's championship, and they seem to have a nice mix. The team there, Big McKenna, middle of the field. Obviously, the lads up front, Smith and Lovett, but they also have Paddy Galligan, Martin Riley, hugely again experienced men that you need in these next couple of weeks building up to the final, and obviously on the day itself. But fair dues to them. They'll not. They've obviously already got a result against Cavan in the championship, so they'll not fear them as such. And they're going in there in a good place. After beating the county champions, they'll be full of confidence going into the county final.
Yeah, nailed all that there, I suppose, Duffer. And, I was talking to fellas the other day in Killigarry, like, it is a great club, done everything right. They've really believed in their underage system, kept players about, and I suppose done things the right way, I suppose, Duffer. So, it's a real credit to them.
Real credit, yeah. Look, they've huge numbers up there. The brother is setting up shop near Crubany as well, so his wee man probably in time, unfortunately play with them, but
you will not let that happen. You will not let that happen.
Yeah, well, it's looking, that's the way that they seem to be the growing club around the town there. I suppose Cavan Gales won't want to agree with that, but look, seem to be doing a lot right, and as I said, a lot of talented players, and they've clicked this championship, and 8 games unbeaten so far this year. So they'll be going in, as I said, no fear in the county final, and looking to try and take the championship back. First time in 50 odd years, 71 or 70.
The first appearance since 1971.
It's a huge couple of weeks for the club. Even the setup they have up there in group. The new facilities is top class.
To deserve it.
Yeah, and it's funny, because like you always look at Killigarry, and even the past 5, 6, 7 years, you'd watch sometimes and you'd think, Jesus, these boys have the makings of a fantastic team, and then you could watch them again and you'd be like, geez, this is a complete different outfit. They were just so hot and miss, but they're a real fantastic club doing so many things right. But this is the first time that you've really looked at them and been like, geez, the sky's the limit for these boys. Like, they could, if they got one this year, they could be about for a while.
Yeah, I think with games this year, when it's got tight, even in the last 3-4 years where there was a point either way, they were usually the team on the receiving end of a defeat. They've seemed to turn that on its head this year and come out the right side in games. We played them last year and we got over them by a point, but they had a chance to level it at the very end with a free 21 yards out and missed it. But you just thought yourself going away from that that's the same old Killigarry. When the game was there to be won or even to get a result, they seem to be just, mentally and just not able to get it done or get across the line. But whatever they've seemed to do this year, they seem to be, obviously, as I said, turning on its head and to be coming away with the right side of things this year.
Yeah, like they've always had fantastic footballers. They've always had forwards who could score, and they've always had serious pace. But there was always just something missing, and you've probably hit on it there, Duffer. Like they were losing games that they should be winning by a point, and losing big games by a point, and being ahead in big games and still losing them. But this year they've just looked different, and I actually seen them against Killigarry and Gowna earlier on in the year, and I was so impressed with them, impressed with them.
I think the mix is they're obviously seem to be responding well now with Jody Devine and Keelan Milne this year, seem to be going and pulling in the right direction, you know.
And that's a big thing there.
Yeah, absolutely. Seem to be happy in their setup, you know.
Yeah, in any walk of life, it's always good to have that. And I suppose, lads, Killigarry was a great win, and I suppose Connor Smith opening the score and with a great goal. And I think was it Matty McKenna got the second goal. Goals always do win games, but look, it probably wasn't a game for the ages, lads. But compared maybe to Saturday night, but look, Killigarry won't care. Wiley.
No, not at all. Hey, it's at this stage, it's about winning. No matter how they do it, like if they go out in the final and they play 15 behind the ball and they win it 2-1. They'll have still won the senior championship, so you know they'll not be too annoyed that the Gownie game was a better game to watch than their game. The two lads inside, like 1-7 between them, I think they ended up getting. I think it was about 1-5 from play. It gives them a serious platform, like. So you know what we talked about earlier, how Gownie go to counteract that, who picks up who covers the space in front. That'll all be very interesting, but Killigarry will be getting into this. They'll have serious belief in themselves. Their momentum's a massive thing. As Duffer says, they've won 8 championship games on the trot. I think Oisin Brady's will be back for the final, surely, won't he? So it's setting up nicely to be a nice final now.
What will be your take on that, Duffer?
Yeah, no, I think they'll go in without fear. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think Wiley touched on it, the two boys inside 1-7 they got. It'll be interesting to see how Gownie counteract that. I know they've just watching the game there. I think they Mark McKeever kind of dropping off and picking up loose ball in front of Paddy Lynch at times last day. So it'll be interesting to see how.
Who actually do you think Duffer will pick them up?
I was just thinking there. I think young Owen Harton there was on the counter in the 20s. There, he was injured for the last semi-final, so it'd be interesting to see if he's fit. If he's fit and he's pushing for a place, you imagine he might go in on young Lovett. He'd be very familiar with him from the counter in the 20 setup. You imagine Ryan McGahern will be given a job as well. Whether he has the pace for Connor Smith, I don't know. Connor Smith's very, very quick. Ryan but, it'll be interesting to see. I'd say Owen Harton and probably McGarren will probably be given the job, and then obviously McKeever will be just sitting in front trying to pick up any ball going inside.
And come here, would you detail Martin Riley?
I'd say Martin Riley. He picks up ball everywhere. And he's such a leader.
Yeah.
Unless you kind of want to go with McKeever on him. Be interesting to see what they do with McKeever, whether they drop him off in front of the pair of bodies, which I think they will. I'd say Ryan Brady might pick him up.
I was actually thinking him.
Ryan going the other way.
Or even maybe Fionn Brady, and get him going the other way.
Yeah, get him going up the pitch, and has legs on Martin. A couple of things there Gowan will be thinking about, but it'll be interesting to see what way they set up with Mark McKeever.
Yeah, and even I suppose the time this Martin Riley, I suppose word on the street is that he might not be going back to Cavan, next year. But I suppose that's nearly no surprise. He, as much like Killian Brady, he probably owes nothing to the Cavan cause. And what a servant he's been. And by God, like Mark McKeever, he really does deserve this final appearance.
Yeah, no, class footballer. He owes nothing to the county setup. He's trying for so long now to try and get Killian to that county final, and he's managed to get them there this year. I think we played them in 2012 in the semi-final. Back them years, and even 2006 we beat them in a semi-final as well. They've been in so many semi-finals. Trying to get to that elusive final has been just a little bit of a bridge too far for them. But he's been the mainstay in their team all these years, and deserves his county final appearance.
What about yourself, Wiley?
Listen, Martin Riley's absolutely fantastic. One of them players that you really love watching. Has it all. Like he's an engine. He can kick off both feet. He can pick a score. He links defence to attack. Like he doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. He's been a fantastic servant to Cavan. But just even from someone from another county, he's a player you really enjoy watching. And I don't know him, but you just you get this genuineness of him on the pitch, and I would say off the pitch he's probably the loveliest lad you could meet, you know.
Yeah.
Just the way he plays the game, he's just so genuine and innocent, you know, or so genuine and pure, like, and you know, I'd say he's a nice fella, like.
Yeah, just an absolute gent, you know.
Yeah. You can just nearly tell in how he carries himself on the pitch, like.
Just the ultimate team player, you know.
Would
sacrifice his own game and do, you know, a role for the team to get across the line. And if it meant, you know, that he had a bit part to play in that, he'd do it. You know, that's the sort of thing. But, just hugely experienced, so skillful. You know.
Yeah, it's funny. You can just tell how honest he is on the pitch. That's nearly as the personality, the persona that he gives off. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's in fairness, he doesn't do much media work. He's a quiet lad, but Jesus, very book with him at this stage. He's been around Cavan that long, 2007. I think he joined the Cavan team, so it just goes to show. Darragh Lovett, you know, Connor Smith inside, lads. Manny McKenna coming from midfield. Oisin Brady, like, you know, there's a lot of trumps in this pack for Killian Wiley.
Yeah, there is. Hey, there is surely, and I always say in these big finals, hey, referee can have a major say in these games, you know.
Has the ref been decided yet, Duffer? No.
I don't think so, yeah. Not
yet. Probably early days.
Yeah, but referees can often have a big say, you know, in how they interpret things. Are they going to let tackles go? Is it going to be what sort of contact they're going to allow in it, you know, or, you know, so that can be interesting too, but I think definitely in for a fantastic final.
What about yourself, Duffer? Your comment on some of the trumps that Killian hold?
Yeah, just, you know, obviously the lads be hoping now that they can kick on and not let the occasion kind of get to them. You know, they're still quite young, you know, young Lovett and that, but it hasn't seemed to affect them in this year's championship. They've just gone from strength to strength, and you know, they've just a raw pace and playing without fear. You know. I think a big plus for the pair of boys is that, you know, they'll have that link with Oisin Brady the next day that they probably didn't have against Rammer. You know, he's a powerful player driving at teams as well, and he's another option, you know, that and another player that Gowna have to tag and you know, keep an eye on, you know. But yeah, look, if the boys can kick on and have a big final, it'll go a long way to you know, to bring him back to a cup to Killian, you know.
Yeah, and probably, you know, even the funny the Mark McKeever one, dropping back as the extra man, you know, and you always wonder that maybe Killian might be better pushing up on him, and you know, them deciding who Gowna's extra man's going to be if they're going to play one back, you know. And
you see Chris Law, they played Brandon Boylan, I think he was on McKeever, and it was to try and play the ball to Brandon Boylan off McKeever.
Yeah.
So McKeever had to make his mind up whether to go with Boylan or to sit in front. So
yeah,
interesting little facet.
Yeah, 100%. Even you know, just something like that. Even if Lovett was to go out there for 10 minutes and see how that interacts, then all of a sudden do Gowna send another man out with Lovett, where three of them stand on the edge of the D, and maybe Killian push another man inside, like how that just something to think about, you know. Yeah, so sometimes, you know, opposition are nearly just, well, he's going to be the extra man, so we'll just allow that to happen. But sometimes, you know, if you can try and force opposition's hands and maybe changing things around, it can be wee small victories. And I think in this final, any of them wee small victories are going to all add up like into big moments.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. The Rammer end of things, lads. Obviously, senior champions in 2021. Injuries at the start of the year with James Brady, Sean McAvoy heading off to America. But then again, you have to play with the cards you're dealt with, Duffer. Obviously, them lads were definitely big loss. I know the O'Connells didn't really get fit themselves, but they disappointed up in Virginia there.
There would be, yeah. You know, Jack and these lads that know them fairly well. You know, they would have been quietly confident getting back to a county final, you know. But look, ultimately, without the pair of boys, that just lacked that little bit of zip up front, you know, and they were heavily reliant on, I suppose, Paddy McNamee and even, you know, Edo Cole to get their scores, and they just lacked a little bit of pace up inside, you know. But look, they'll be back, you know. They'll get James Brady back, and they'll go at it again, you know. They just picked up a number of injuries, I suppose, throughout the championship this year, and it was just a lot of bad luck, you know. Even Brian O'Connell was back for the quarter final against us, but he done rightly, I suppose, in the 2 games, but just at the wrong time they picked up too many injuries, and obviously Sean McAvoy as well been out as well. It was probably just a little bit of a bridge too far for them. But no, look, they'll be back. You know, they're still relatively young across the field. You know, Paddy McNamee and Ado are probably the 2 older statesmen, but they'll definitely be back. You know, in the next number of years again and challenging again.
Yeah, I suppose maybe what went wrong for Rammer and Son, did you feel, Duffer? I know obviously Conor Bradley is back from his transfer to Dunboyne last year. He's obviously back this year, and then the likes of Ronan Patterson kind of came on. But like, maybe did you feel they didn't get enough from the men, or you know, was it the game plan, or what you feel went wrong for them?
Probably just, as I said, lacking that little bit of zip. I probably thought at times, you know, they could have maybe moved Jack forward. I know he hasn't played there in a while, but I thought they could have maybe moved him up front, you know, when they did lose the 2 boys. Maybe push him forward a little bit, maybe into a centre forward role. Try and get them few scores, you know, but ultimately just didn't take their chances. I thought when they went on top in the first half, they probably could have kicked on more. But just the way that they set up, you know, they're very, very defensive at times, you know, and they keep the ball for long periods of time and wait for an opening. And they probably could have worked it a little bit more on occasion and get the right kind of man on the ball, but just wasn't to be. But I thought maybe at times, you know, especially when they lost 2 boys, I thought Jack might have been pushed up, but they seem to be completely against that idea altogether. He can't be moved out of the fence at all, it seems. They're very well set up the back as well, so I thought it might be an option to throw him further up the field and go for it, you know. Yeah. But probably that's the big thing. I think at times they probably just didn't go for it more, you know.
Which is crazy because it's a semi-final.
What's that, sorry?
Which is crazy because it's a semi-final.
Yeah, no, I think obviously he's brilliant at centre back and that, but you know, just with them losing the 2 boys, I thought they were lacking that little bit up front, you know, and I thought he might be an option because it's not like he's not a natural forward, you know. He played there for a large part of his career, so I thought it might be an option to throw him forward more, but not to be, I suppose.
Yeah, I think myself for them it was probably just 1 game too far for them with you know the quality that they were missing. And you know, you probably should have had them gone, Duffer.
Yeah, probably at times.
And you know, then
the first game definitely,
yeah, and then even probably just the fact that the game went to a replay and it was less recovery for them. Maybe just got to the semi-final and they just maybe tired mentally as well as physically, and just with what they've had, like.
Yeah, no, I suppose that we probably at times could have had even the start we got the second day we could have went 5 up.
Yeah,
you know, and
the black card probably changed that game. You know, let them back in the second day. You know,
well, that's it. They're so experienced. You know, they will use that extra man to they will identify an extra player. They like to get Jack free a lot of the time and break forward. But look, I suppose we probably didn't, you know, have the belief really to go on and kick for home at times as well. But yeah, it was that, as I said earlier on the Jack thing, you know, it could have been an option maybe.
But I actually think too, what you said there's a great point, Duffer, that you said there maybe you didn't have the belief. I don't know if Rammer had the belief this year of what, you know, what was missing. And I almost think in that semi-final it probably reflected through in their performance. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I just think that...
Yeah, no, you're right, Wiley.
It was a game too far for them. Like.
It's so hard to do back-to-back as well, you know.
Unreal. And probably when you look at it with Rammer, I think when the year I was with you, Duffer, that Rammer smashed us to pieces in a group game and they won it that year.
16.
Probably for the next year or two, they were off it a wee bit. And then the comeback.
Come back.
So,
but it's small. Like, you know, James Brady did kick. James Brady did kick 248 last year, lads, and of course that does take the scoring away in Sean McAvoy. So you know, it's small margins, but they're big margins at the end of the 2, Duffer.
Yeah, huge. Like he's you know, probably was the player of the championship last year, James Brady. You know, and to lose that amount of scoring, even Shawnee Mack, you know, a creative type player as well. You take that out of your team, it's very, very, very hard to replace it. You know. Very hard.
Yeah, and that's even what we talk about is the belief in that semi-final, knowing that if he's in that forward line and you get him the ball, that he's going to get you a score. When that goes, you know, you're probably going up the pitch, maybe not the same belief in certain boys, but
And like the way we're talking about Rammer, they would have been talking about winning it again. It wouldn't have been a case of just getting to a final with them. It was try to retain the championship is what they were to do. And to lose that was probably just too much in the end.
Yeah, so I suppose just to get some eyes at lads, really, just from Rammer's point of view, like, is there anything they could have done differently against Killigarry, or do you feel watching on, if you've got to watch the game, is there anything they could have done differently?
I think maybe head on it, maybe pushing Jack that wee bit further forward at times, but there were probably. He's nearly been soldered in at number 6 for them now. This is the best part of 4 or 5 seasons, and it was probably against their DNA to do that at the minute. But they might look him back as one as that was maybe one that could have helped change things, but it wasn't to be for them just on the night.
Absolutely. I suppose who would have been your player of the match from that game, Dover?
It's hard to. Young Lovett would have been. He got a couple of crucial scores. At vital times for him. He just seems to be, going from strength to strength, right? Championship. And as I well know, getting scores against that Rammer defence, is not easy. You have Lurkin, Lynch, Barkey, and these lads to try and beat. And even the way they set up, they're very, very well organised and a hugely experienced team. And he chipped in at vital times and got huge scores for them. So it's hard not to look past young Lovett there. He's a joy to watch, and again, is going to have a massive say in the final.
What about yourself, Wiley?
Lovett, I think, was exceptional. And again, he's a young lad coming through, and he's playing with absolutely no fear, and reputations and that is not bothering these young boys. And that's, again, no more so we're talking about some of the Guyana forwards for Cavan. Killigarry have a few that will go on and make a big impact for Cavan at county level as well.
Definitely. I suppose the last question, lads. Obviously, Dover, you were in the thick and thrust of it. What did you maybe make of the standard of Cavan club football this year?
I didn't see, obviously, during the kind of the first 4 games, I didn't see too many. I suppose when you're kind of involved yourself, I kind of not to pay too much attention on anyone else, and kind of just worry about who's next and hone in on ourselves. People would have been saying to me that that hasn't been too hectic or too high a standard, but I think it's the championship really comes to life, from the quarterfinals on, and I don't think that overall from the quarterfinals on it hasn't been too bad of a standard. Obviously, we've had a great semi-final, and obviously people say the Rammer and Killigarry game wasn't, it was just the way the game played out. It was kind of defensive, and you had one team trying to get to a final for, after so many years. It was just about getting there, and Rammer just going around with a target on the back and county champions. But overall, I'd say probably not as good as we probably hoped for or probably liked if you're neutral. But from the quarterfinals on, I've enjoyed the games, and I enjoyed the drawn Gales and Gowna game. Obviously, people probably didn't say our game was too hectic either with Rammer, but look, I suppose when you're involved, you're just kind of worrying about getting across the line and getting into the next stage.
Yeah, I suppose, and the format as well, and obviously, you probably get the 4 group stages games. I suppose, obviously, Wiley, you can say more maybe about the Armagh kind of Tyrone, straight knockout. So, what do you make maybe the format of her?
I like the format. I like the fact that every game is it kind of it matters. I suppose I know we probably did have a few maybe dead rubbers in the last. Obviously with Ballinya and Butler's Bridge playing other, I think in the last game, and I think Ballinya though needed a number of results and quite possibly could have got into a quarterfinal spot. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's a championship format, and I think it's kind of the same across the board. I think when you talk to opposition players and that, they seem to enjoy it. I think back when I started out, it was four groups of 4 maybe, or 3 groups of 4 maybe, or that. I think you had a lot of dead rubbers. 2 teams were getting out of the group each time, but you quite often had a team that was top and was already through, and they ended up playing a team in the bottom half in 4th place, and they had nothing to play for. So I know it's hard to know. It's hard to get it right, but it has been an exciting championship right up until the last. You don't know who's going to make the top 8, and you're kind of after the last game, you're wondering who you're playing when you are in a quarterfinal spot. So it's hard to know. It's hard to know which way to go, which format to get it right.
I suppose, would you rather like the format we have now or knockout?
I do think you should get a second chance. Like, are you saying play one game and then be gone, or
similar to maybe up in Tyrone there? Yeah,
it's very cutthroat there. Like, I do think you put a lot into it. I think you do deserve maybe 2 cracks at it, maybe.
Okay.
It's hard to know, maybe, until you kind of trial it out, any kind of format. But are you not in favour of it, or the championship format, or?
Yeah, look, I think maybe just the quality of the games. I suppose it kind of refers back to my question there to, like, maybe some of the games just did lack that kind of edge on it. Obviously, watching on Cav stream, maybe some of the, as you were rightly saying there, maybe the third round, the fourth round, maybe weren't great games to the viewing public kind of watching on the neutrals or whatever. So I just think, if you did bring in knockout, it would just add to the intensity. Players would be so focused, the standard, the quality would be so much better. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said for knockout.
Yeah, I actually think it. The championships become nearly 2 different competitions when you leave the group stages into the knockout football.
Yeah.
Like up in Tyrone, it's always knockout, and I've never played in anything else. But I don't necessarily buy in that knockout makes the standard better.
Okay.
I think it makes the games, more nail biting, more. There's more about it because it's straight knockout. But we would always have the Tyrone Championship up on a pedestal, about the quality of it and the standard of it. But yet, Tyrone teams struggle in the Ulster club. And
they've come through such a demanding hard championship nearly that when they get to the Ulster, they're kind of
there's no doubt in that. But if you look at maybe some of it, I think it for excitement, straight knockout is by far the best, and I think championship football should be straight knockout. And you know yourself,
I just think you get too many chances in Cavan. I really do.
I think that's what happens in the early stages when people be on about the quality of the group games. Like, the teams can take a game to fit themselves in and still get through winning 2 games.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I was watching, I think it was at the Gales and Ballina game, and I think it was up in Lacken one Sunday. Like, neither team had any interest in winning it. Like, it just, I don't know. Yeah. Bit of a restructuring or a bit of a rethink, I think, needed.
Hey, that's all for you, Cavan people.
What do you think, Duffer?
Knockout is, I haven't thought about it. I suppose it's definitely something that could be considered anyway going forward, I suppose for the weaker clubs in the championship, they get a bigger team. It's a short year for the like of them, and they might be too keen on it. But
but like even there, like if you knock out, we've a Cavan final now that if it was straight knockout would never have happened because Killian had gone.
Yeah.
And that could ultimately the format of the championship could ultimately come back to bite Killian now if Gowna win the final.
Yeah.
So
definitely something to consider, I think, going forward. Like, but let the powers that be decide.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
we'll criticise them regardless.
I tell you, if you're in Gowna or Killian and you win the championship,
you won't give a toss.
You won't give a toot, man.
Yeah.
Not a toot.
Not a chance.
Not a hoot.
No. Not a chance. But I just think there was a couple of damp squibs, but that's championship football. You want to be seeing the best football about, lads. That's good enough tonight, lads. Thanks a million for joining me. And just before we jump off, I'd like to send our sincere condolences to Brian Mullins. God be good to him. Obviously the news broke on Friday that Brian Mullins passed away. He was a Dublin GAA legend all around. Wiley. Brian Mullins death. Yeah. Geez, sad news and absolute. Geez, the word legend was used probably far too often in life.
You probably played against him when he was manager.
He was a year above me in school. But no, and I see this. The Sun put up a lovely tribute to him online. But like he actually done a good bit of work with Derry for a number of years, and they talked glowing terms about him. So no, Jesus, condolences to the family. Duffer, what about yourself?
Yeah, no condolences. I suppose I obviously when we watching videos and obviously the older brother and even my father would obviously have mentioned him a good bit. Would have watched him a lot, in the 70s and that Dublin team. So I only would have seen a lot of videos of him, but a mountain of a man, and you know, when football was football back then, you know, there was no shying away back then watching it, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, huge St. Vincent's man. I know when I was in college there in DCU back 10 years ago, we used to train in Vincent's in Donnycarney there, and you know, he always would have been down and he would have been watching, but was always very friendly man, and you know, it didn't matter where you're from or who you were, he'd spend time and chat away to you and try and get to know you, where you're from and that, and was always a very nice man. He'd always seem to be like, you know, turn the lights on or some little gig in the club even back then. But you know, you only hear of a huge St. Vincent's man, and you know, big loss to the county, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, Duffer, absolutely. And before we go as well, obviously, sincere condolences to the Tynan family as well. Michael Tynan's son, Northern Sound broadcaster as well, Alan, passed away last week as well. So sincere condolences that go out to the Tynan family. Also, Aidan McCarron and O'Reilly, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by orgretro.com. Use the promo code JMAC Podcast to get 15% off on their website. Lads, have a good week.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, cheers, Sean. Cheers, Sean.